In early November 1918, after receiving word that Armistice Day would be declared on the 11th of the 11th, his cousin Kaiser Wilhelm II abdicated to him. My second predecessor Wilhelm II had decided splitting his dual monarchy roll-up into two separate monarchies via abdication was critical to move forward after World War I. It was authorized with official documents sent to be verified, based on what turned out to be blatantly misleading medical advice on Adolf's health status. Kaiser Wilhelm II had been told Adolf had progressed well in his recovery, as if he was walking on his own again and getting out and about. Kaiser Wilhelm II stipulated that there must be a wait of 6 months minimum before he was coronated, to allow people time after the end of World War I. When new Prince Imperial Adolf was informed he had been abdicated to, he was still staying in a post-traumatic stress disorder recovery facility. He said, "What did that man just say about Wilhelm II?" to nobody. He was informed an official meeting had been arranged to hand him over to the former Kaiser's security team for an induction and constitutional monarchy succession procedure session. Like an education session. Adolf was given a time, place and date, and told Wilhelm II would be there, along with the royal security police. Prince Imperial Adolf was terrified and unable to walk fluently. He took a then modern 1918 camera and full tripod with him, intending to hide behind it taking photographs and tell Wilhelm II he was taking up photography again. Attending the official meeting was like being assaulted with information. He stood behind the camera taking photographs, overpowered by the smell of the freshly laundered uniforms, boot polish, leather oil, aftershave, and other smells. He didn't hear a word of the first few minutes, but took photographs. Whilst he was trying not to panic, the smell of a small German aster flower in a vase wafted into his nostrils, and he turned to look at it. He thought, how can one tiny flower like that give off such a strong beautiful smell? And coined the term, flower power. He was sat down with Wilhelm II and the security police, which gradually deteriorated in a 4-hour meeting. Whenever he lost track and phased out, they politely waited and went through it all again, trying to get the information through to him. He started sweating and hunched in his chair, and complained he felt ill and was thirsty. Wilhelm II started crying and grabbed him by one hand, rubbing his thumb, asking if he was okay. They called a doctor, and he was immediately readmitted to hospital. They found he had been wounded with bullets that had been dipped in an agent that caused them to corrode inside the victim if they lodged in the target's body, and re-examined him. They found a shrapnel or fragments in his hip and leg, and immediately operated to remove them as soon as they could. He was treated for any possible poisoning from the fragments, like heavy metal poisoning. He was also diagnosed with a minor brain infection. After the surgery and the treatment including antibiotics, he was much better. It took months more time in hospital. By then he was being quietly talked about like a decorated former soldier, which was a correct description. He was visited sporadically by former Kaiser Prince Wilhelm II, still the final Emperor of Preusseun, who was relieved he was more responsive. He very slowly worked his way back into a daily life in recovery, doing physiotherapy. He was unable to walk fluently freely for the rest of his life. After World War I, he had to twist one leg outwards and stick one hip out slightly in order to be able to stand for any longer than a short period. He usually had to lean on something if he couldn't stay upright, like a tree if outdoors. Adolf regularly wore heat padding and other medically prescribed items over his wounds. He had to do daily physiotherapy to keep his wounded side flexible and was often in pain when walking around. He often described it as a randomly disjointed crawling of the skin feeling, probably caused by nerve damage. Below is Kaiser Adolf after conscription, during service on the Western Front, in 1925, explaining to the German public what happened to him when he was held illegally in Landsberg prison, still seriously distressed after his WW1 near-fatal wounding, then in my hometown of Yarragon in his 90s. Then me compared to the colleague then Crown Prince Adolf was wounded with during World War I. He was labelled a royal poser by onlookers unaware of his mobility difficulties and physiotherapy. They then extended that when he was photographed standing up, claiming he was posing like a spoilt brat. He still phased out regularly and had to stop and gather himself. Wilhelm II had set a waiting period of 6 months minimum before a coronation after succession procedure was started anyway. His friends were happy to wait until he was well enough in his own opinion. Others thought they had hit the jackpot. They thought if he regularly phased out, they could do whatever they wanted and have him authorize any document they liked, provided they phased him out first, then asked him to authorize them. They started trying to work out ways to make him have lapses, picturing themselves waving their hand in front of his face to see if he blinked, and walking away with official documents he wouldn't have remembered he authorized. Things deteriorated quickly after that. Whenever Prince Imperial Adolf looked like he was relaxed and feeling better, they did something to him, or near him, to see if it would make him phase out to a traumatized blank unresponsive stare. He was also followed around by Morans pretending he would do whatever they said if they tried to remind him that they may do to him what was done to my Romanov and Habsburg ancestors during World War I, if he didn't play along, and do what they suggested. The real organized crime brat screech included. Like Morans making too many leaps of probably. They extended the scenario to claiming he would have to pretend to publicly date a female and be forced to make lewd conversation about sexual contact with her at official events and public outings in order to get access to his royal assets. Then suggested that perhaps a female relative would be more fun for them, so they could pretend it was incest. The latter probably a bizarre reference to hideous fiction about Roman emperors, as he was a legitimate descendant of Julius Caesar. They regularly tried to take him to places to remind him of their past victims, including his parents Prince Alois and Princess Clara, and his older brother Prince Edmund. Also my Romanov and Habsburg ancestors. Remember that my great-grandmother Tsarina Alexandra Fyodorova the Romanov married Nicholas Hohenzollern too. They tried reminiscent places, shapes and smells and waited to see if he went blank into a stare. They tried the sound of firing guns, actual gunshots, small explosions, blood-colored fluid, barbed wire, with combat smells, to see if he would phase out. Bombs hidden in briefcases, all the incidents people are vaguely familiar with. Like he was in a science experiment to see if he forgot who they were and just sat and stared afterwards. Like he was traumatically hypnotized and they were trying to work out the visual audio cue. He took it all in, deciding to wait until he felt he was well enough. Prince Imperial Adolf was lent large sums of money by his friends, including his homosexual ones who were Jewish in a lot of cases. They quietly stated he could pay them all back when he got access to his assets, now my assets. They lent him very large sums of money he didn't have a use for at the time. He had his post-combat recovery rights with the German military as well. In 1922 he decided to take a break from Germany as there were more and more people pretending to tell him what he had to pretend to get access to his assets. All of them pretending to be unaware of his recovery after World War I whilst trying to traumatize him to make him phase out to a blank stare, based on rumors of his mental state when abdicated too. He went on holiday to Amsterdam in the Netherlands, taking multiple film and still cameras with him. He toured the city filming where he could get permission, staying in hotels mainly. He was recognized everywhere he went like he was the confirmed next monarch of Germany, with some adults aware he had recovery issues after World War I and was still doing physiotherapy. He did not officially notify them of his holiday beforehand, so it was always with a little surprise when they realized who he was, until word got around. There were also those stalking him daily. And then others who would follow him around with a briefcase pretending if he did whatever they said, they would have succession procedure documents for him, right then and there, in Amsterdam. He also spent some quality time with other gay men. Including one particular man who was a security guard by profession, who can clearly be seen repeatedly in the films Adolf recorded on his holiday. They are available to view in edited format on YouTube. Just search The Trip Through Amsterdam in 1922 and you can view the footage Adolf filmed and edited himself, or what is left of it. It is very revealing. Prince Imperial Adolf became more and more relaxed and communicative on the trip, more out of full awareness of his situation than anything else. When he returned to Germany, he started talking succession procedure and coronation much better than when he left. He drew his imperial lineage chart on some basic graph paper and it spawned an idea for a two-sided monogram that spelt Hitler one way and Hohenzollern the other, made from Germanic English lettering. He added a red background and a white circle to match his uncle Kaiser Friedrich IV's flag and traditional Hohenzollern royal colors since constitutionalization in 1871 and before. The flag he is most associated with was invented. He immediately went to his cousin and predecessor former Kaiser Prince Wilhelm II and asked if he could help to have the monogram and flag officially authorized, patented, copyrighted and manufactured. Wilhelm II immediately put him through an intensive part-time constitutional monarchy rules and documents course where he had Adolf stay with him. It took weeks, they ate meals together, laughed a lot, and they were often a little drunk by the end of each day. Former Kaiser Prince Wilhelm II, the final monarch of Preusseun, was very relieved he was feeling better and started talking to him as if he was about to become monarch of a now separate monarchy. The necessary legal forms were sent off. The patent and copyright requests went through an office associated with their evil cousin Albert Einstein, who had been rumored to have worked at a patent office as a clerk. When the official patent and restricted copyright to the monogram and flag were registered exclusively to my royal family within all its constitutional monarchy rules, Adolf ordered samples. A few flags and some stationery. When they arrived he showed them to Wilhelm II, who thought they were good.